So just like adding fractions that are rational numbers, you need a common denominator. So functions, same deal. You need a common denominator. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out. Well, I need to factor the denominators that are given. So for x squared minus 5x plus 6, that's going to factor into x minus 3 and x minus 2. So write that over here. All right, so 1 over x minus 3 times x minus 2. X squared minus 3x plus 2 is going to be x minus 3 times x. X minus 2 times x minus 1. All right, and the numerator there is also 1. All right, and then x squared minus 8x plus 15 is x minus 3 times x minus 5. All right. The numerator there is 2. Essentially what you need to do, again, is figure out what's that common denominator. So what are, like, between those three denominators, what is that common denominator? Well, two of them have an x minus 3, so x minus 3 is got to be the common denominator. Two of them have an x minus 2. And two of them have one of them has an x minus 1. And one of them has an x minus 3. I'm sorry, an x minus 5. There you go. Okay, so that's what the common denominator is. Now you're going to figure out what does each fraction need in order to make it that common denominator. So the first one has an x minus 3 and an x minus 2. It doesn't have the x minus 1 and the x minus 5. So the x minus 1 times x minus 5 all over x minus 3 times x minus 2 times x minus 1. The next one has an x minus 2 and an x minus 1, so it's missing the x minus 3 and the x minus 5. Just trying to save some space there. And then the last one has an x minus 3 and an x minus 5, so it's missing the x minus 2 and the x minus 1. So the 2 is still a coefficient there as well. Okay. So now you're just going to basically simplify. All right, so the first one, and I'm just going to put this over one big fraction now, because the fact that we made it a common denominator means now it's going to be one fraction. The denominator is going to be that common denominator, so x minus 3 times x minus 2, x minus 1 times 5. So x minus 1 times x minus 5 is x squared. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x, or negative 6x. I'm just foiling, skipping a step. Negative 1 times negative 5 is plus 5. So 5. All right. Then the second fraction, x minus 3 times x minus 5. X times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5. x, negative 3x, that'd be negative 8x, and then plus 15. And the last one, all right, so x times x is x squared. I'm gonna write it over here. X times negative 1 is negative x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. That's negative 3x. All right, and then negative 2 times negative 1 is plus 2. You still have that 2 in front, so we're just going to multiply all that by 2. All right, so you're going to get 2x squared minus 6x plus 4. All right. Now you're going to take that, simplify the numerator. So add up all the common denominators. X squared, 2x squared is 4x squared. Negative 6x, negative 8x is negative 14x. Negative 6x is negative 20x. And then 5, 15, and 4 would add up to 24. All right, and all that is over still that common denominator. Okay. Obviously, it doesn't look like any of your answers yet, but what you can do is still factor the numerator. First thing I noticed is there's a common denominator of 4. So I'm going to take a 4 out, and you have x squared minus 5x plus 6. All right. I'm going to change that x squared. I'm going to also now factor the x squared minus 5x plus 6, and that would be 4 times x minus 2 times x minus 3. All of that is over the common denominator we have, which is x minus 3 times x minus 2 times x minus 1 times x minus 5. What you can do now is divide out, basically you're simplifying a fraction, right? The x minus 2's are gone, the x minus 3's are gone, and what you're left with is 4, which is good because all the answers have 4 as a numerator, over x minus 1 times x minus 5. If I FOIL that together, you're going to get x squared minus 5x minus 1x, so minus 6x. And then negative 1 times negative 5 is plus 5. All right, so a lot of work to get that the answer is A on this one. Okay, let me know. I think this is the longest video I've done so far. Anyway, let me know if you have some other questions. All right.